Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's been a while. It's been like 8 months, I think, since my last upload. Been dealing with a lot of crazy life stuff, but now I'm getting back to a place where I can hopefully start uploading again consistently. Yeah, I just saw Obsession, which everyone's been talking about recently, of course, and rightfully so, because I'll just come out and say it's a really good movie. Probably one of the better movies that have come out this year, especially in terms of horror. I haven't seen many horror movies this year. I haven't really seen many movies at all this year, to be honest. But it's another horror movie directed by a YouTuber, Curry Baker. I know I'd seen his face because before the movie they did like a little interview. I was at Alamo Drafthouse, so I saw his face and I was like, I've definitely seen some of your videos. And he does like a lot of sketch comedy stuff, but he does a few short horror films, and it's pretty funny, the pipeline of like comedians slash like sketch comedy kind of things going into horror. You know, like with weapons and like Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, and Kane Parsons has Backrooms coming out soon, so hopefully that movie's solid as well. It looks okay from the trailers, but also it stars Michael Johnston. I haven't really seen much of what he's in. Like off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you what I've seen him in. He plays Bear, the main character. I think his name's Baron, but they all call him Bear. It's like a short nickname. And then Nikki, played by Indy Navarrete. Hope I said that right. She's been getting a lot of the talk around because obviously she crushes it in this role, having to be the somewhat possessed, because the movie, it's about Bear. He's falling hard for one of his best friends, Nikki, and he doesn't know how to express those feelings, or he's kind of afraid to, as because like it's always tricky waters navigating that kind of situation. Opening up to a friend about your feelings, because it could, either it'll work out or it could just completely ruin your friendship. And so he was just juggling with these things, and he goes to the store where they sell like crystals and voodoo stuff, all that kind of stuff, healing powder, whatever kind of crap. And he finds the One Wish Willows, where like you say a wish and you snap it and it comes true, apparently. But obviously, it just seemed like a knickknack kind of thing, so he was gonna buy it for Nikki to give it to her as like a gift. But eventually, he ends up using it himself, and of course, if you've seen the trailer, it works and it leads to a bunch of chaos. And as a horror movie, I gotta say, I really enjoyed that it didn't rely on jump scares. Because I feel like a lot of movies will just hammer you with jump scares because they're pretty cheap and they're easy to get you. You're sitting in a dark theater and all of a sudden someone's smacking a pan or punching through a window or something. You're gonna jump. It's just like human nature. There was like two or three jump scares, but I think they worked. They weren't. It wasn't like, oh, here we go, they're gonna just keep spamming these jump scares to get us. They actually fit with what happens in the moment, because like the things that happen would jump scare the main character and then you with him. And a lot of the creepiness comes from like the imagery, because Nikki's character, there'll be times she's like standing in the corner at night watching Bear sleep, or she'll be moving around weirdly in the background, or there's a little bit of like Toni Collette from Hereditary, like towards the end, a little bit of Pearl in there, a little bit of Pearl kind of craziness, and then Smile, because she does a lot of creepy smiling in it, and I'm like, she could have easily been in that movie. She could have been the face of like one of those movies. So just a mixture of all of those things together makes it really creepy. And it could have easily come off as really like cringe too, like her being like obviously I that was terrible what I just did, but when she does it, you're like, oh, that's creepy. Because also like once as you go on into the movie, you realize there's more going on with Nikki. It's like, is Nikki actually in there, or was something else taking over her body whenever I made the wish? So you don't really know. You kind of juggle with those things. So it's like Bear's with Nikki, and she's doing all these things, and he's like trying to get to her, but you don't know. Is he actually talking to Nikki? Is she not talking to Nikki? You don't know. So that makes it even creepier. And I like how they don't elaborate on exactly how the wish thing works. It just kind of happens, and there's like on the box there's like a support number he calls, and then it's just so dumb. It's funny, but it's also terrifying at the same time, because everyone's just acting like, yeah, what do you think was gonna happen? So it's kind of crazy. Bear at the beginning, he's kind of a likable guy. You kind of relate. He's like struggling with these internal feelings and whatnot. But then you get into the whole like, there's a big theme for like, obviously be careful what you wish for, but also like toxic masculinity and like consent. because he makes the wish, which essentially forces her to love him. Which again, he didn't talk to her about it. He didn't even open up about his feelings to her. He didn't really talk about it to any of his friends. He kind of just did it on a whim, and it like takes effect immediately. And of course, all of his friends start to notice, and it's just a bunch of dominoes that keep falling and escalating and escalating. So there's like a core group. There's like 4 people. There's like Bear. There's Bear, Nikki, and then these 2 other people. I forget their names. The one guy, his name is played by a guy named like Cooper. I've been saying Curry Baker, but it's Curry Barker. Okay, yeah, the guy, his name is Cooper in real life. He plays one of the friends, and he's like Curry Barker's partner in crime for their YouTube channel, which was pretty cool. And then the other character, I think her name was Sarah. So there's there's 4 of them. They work at this like music store together. Yeah, so Bear's decision essentially ruins all their lives. I won't get into detail, but you could probably imagine. And again, yeah, with the issues of like toxic masculinity and consent, when he's like, he forces Nikki through these wishes, or the one wish to love him, instead of like confessing to her and dealing with the consequences of that, if there were going to be any. And I feel like a lot of men who watch this movie, myself included, you might see some behaviors or whatnot from characters, and you might have to look at yourself and be like, oh, I might have some things to work on if, you know, some parts make you feel a certain way. And I think that's probably what the movie was kind of going for. Obviously, with the horror, you know, you can't control anyone's feelings. If you have feeling for someone and they don't like you and you try to force it, it just creates more chaos. I'm sure we can all relate to that. I feel like if you walk out of this movie and you feel a little attacked, you know, your butt's hurt a little bit, you might need to do some introspection. Because, like, you know, I walked to the cinema, and on the way back, I was thinking, I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff in there, you know, that you could definitely take away from. Obviously, you know, not the extent of like, ooh, I'm gonna use like voodoo magic to force someone to love me, but just like those feelings you get, someone doesn't reciprocate, and you get some like anger, maybe some inferiority kind of stuff. So it's just something to work on, and I feel like the movie tackles it pretty well. Because again, throughout the movie, Nikki's the victim, because she was just living her life, doing her thing, and then Bear just couldn't handle the fact that she didn't like him back, and just opened the genie's bottle. And just in the movie, there is a girl who was like hinted at that she might have feelings for Bear, and but he doesn't notice it because he's so infatuated with Nikki. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, there is someone out there for you, even if you're not looking in the right place. Because I feel like, just like as humans in general, you know, people are like, you know, why do you always purposefully date bad people who are bad for you, or whatever. It's like, when you get into a relationship, you're not thinking, all right, time to get abused, time to find someone who makes me feel like shit all the time. Hell yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's just human nature. We think someone will fix us. We think if this person decides that they like us, this hole will be filled and life will be, you know, rainbows and unicorns and pigs flying around and stuff. It's a lot of stuff that gives you to think about, which is cool for a horror movie. Obviously, you get some gore. There's not much, but when it happens, it's just like, it's intense, and just the scares are there with the, you know, like with like the imagery and stuff like that. It's more so about the, you know, the male side, you know, like the toxic masculinity stuff. So there's a lot of things for men to look at themselves about. You know, Nikki was a victim all around. You know, if anyone watches this movie and by the end they think somehow Bear was in the right or something, then again, you need to look in the mirror, because her life was essentially hijacked. Her body was hijacked. Like, it gets kind of gross at times. So overall, I think it was a really good horror movie, good acting, good themes. Be careful what you wish for, of course. I think that was one of my favorite Goosebumps books when I was a kid, was the Be Careful What You Wish For one. And yeah, just try not to force people, you know, to fit your narrative. It's not going to work. It'll just make people resent you, and you'll be left alone, and then you'll be thinking about using a wish to force people to love you. You know, one character in the movie was smart. He's like, I want $1 billion. And he starts raining money. So it's just like, you know, if I had one wish, it would be financial stability. Because then when you're stable, you could focus on yourself, focus on doing things you like, and eventually you'll find that someone, and you won't have to force it, and you won't have to possess nobody, and you don't have to worry about, you know, a bunch of people getting murdered. But anyway, I think I'm going to give this movie, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, honestly. It's one of those movies that you could definitely rewatch, you know, like with some friends. I saw it like I said, I went to Alamo Drafthouse and saw it. There's this freaking old guy, like 2 seats down from me. Not even 20 minutes in the movie, he's sleeping, and his phone's ringing, and I'm like, what? I'm like, seriously? That was another reason why I haven't been to the movies in so long, because the last time I went, when I saw Honey Don't, it was just utter nonsense. Anyway, other than that, it was a good experience. So yeah, let me know down below if you've seen Obsession. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Hit the like button, subscribe. Peace.